Yeah, it was like honestly, it was one of those cool things. I'm so glad that we get to talk again because like honestly, went to GGG yesterday and it was such a fun event and it was like, as we kind of like talked about before, like again, I'll bring it up the brain energy thing. And I'm trying to like figure out like how do I explain it? And I think you were the one that kind of was explaining it best. And if we could just kind of like chat about that brain energy thing and how you kind of like explain it to me, I would love to start with that. That's freaking it was awesome to hear like how like it was like the muscle and oh, okay. I'll let you go. Sorry, Sumana. This is awesome.
No, that's okay. Before we jump into that, do
Mm,
you want to quickly, for all those in the audience who may be listening and don't know who you are,
crap, yeah.
would you want to give a quick just shout out and a little, like, I can give your intro, but I prefer guests giving their own so that I can do justice to who they are and what message is
You'll
important.
you do more justice than I would to myself. Trust me on this, but I will do my best, and I keep on forgetting. Like no one knows me, and then the people that do know me, it's funny because I will say about GDG, a couple of the people that I've ran into, they're like, your LinkedIn profile is not you. I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Like it's like my LinkedIn face is different. My LinkedIn like education, all that, that's all doesn't show who I am. It's just like a little sandbox of who I am. And so that being said, like I'm a security engineer for lead security engineer for Ontario Health. I work for the security platform engineering cyber defense team, which is pretty big mouthful. Teach part time at Fanshawe in the cybersecurity area. So been doing a lot of the career aspect in cybersecurity around IT and operational security. I find my love and passion for cybersecurity really really growing to go expanding beyond like the regular IT stuff like I'll take a couple examples that we talked about yesterday is bringing down satellites. Not that I'm going to bring down a satellite, but that awesome idea of satellite hacking or like crashing a Tesla, that kind of thing, like remotely throwing EMP bombs around. Anyway, I should be very careful of what I say, but it's like one of those things like cybersecurity is more than just your computer, right? It's like more than just phishing. It's like a lot of stuff. And yeah, oh, and this is awesome. I really would love to get your take on this Neuralink and how we can how we have to figure out that when a information security perspective, because man, that integration for cybernetics is going to be insane. So yeah, beyond that, I've been around for 20, 25, 30 years in IT. I just, like I said, I'm back into like a groove of hopefully meeting people again. And I'm always willing to connect. Obviously, LinkedIn. I do SWAST, which is the Southwestern Ontario Cyber Security Talent Showcase. I don't know why I like long, wordy stuff. Maybe it makes me sound smart. But yeah, it's like that aspect where you're just like, I love volunteering. We love bringing the cybersecurity community together, and we love thinking outside the box. So that's like who we are. And I have a lot of people that are very talented, and I meet more talented people like you all the time, and I think we have a great community that we can just like grow. And I'm hoping that these kind of sessions that we get together, like, gosh, I've talked for too long, and I'm just like, now I want you to talk because man, this is your podcast. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, so much fun.
It's your podcast, it's our.
Our podcast, community podcast. Gosh, now we're gonna get communist manifesto people getting like all crazy with this our stuff. Anyway, sorry, let me
So
meme it
just
up.
for context, Rob, you and I, we met, what, it's been a month and a half?
Yeah,
Maybe
task the 2 tasks ago.
2 tasks ago. And you were giving a really cool presentation looking at cybersecurity from, or building a career in cybersecurity from a Minecraft perspective. And, the cybersecurity industry tends to be quite dry sometimes. It's really serious and like, just intense. And here you
Hmm.
come with like, oh, this is, if you were designing your life, like you were playing Minecraft, this is da 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 da. And I instantly felt so connected. The questions that followed from your talk, I think, were also quite eye-opening, and we started talking about cyber psychology and what lies beyond IT and computing when it comes to the field of cybersecurity. And you brought up some really great points. And, I'm also going to talk a little bit about the presentation that you had sent me within the first, second week,
Hmm.
looking at our own brains as our device and
Hmm.
how in cybersecurity, the way we see and how functions and processes take place is the same thing of what's going on in our brains and our bodies. and how they reflect and mirror each other. And I'm so fascinated to jump into this with you to kind of just uncover what is the future of cybersecurity? What is cybersecurity really about? What does it come down to? And the beautiful analogies of and the paradoxes of this field in
Oh
the
my God.
ways. And so like the brain energy thing, yes.
The paradox is that's like the cybersecurity and privacy lives together. That's the paradox, right? Oh my God. That's awesome. Great word. I'm like, I love, gosh, I can listen to you talk all day, Samana. Keep going. Sorry.
So coming back to what you were talking, so you were at the Google development um, program.
Yeah, so in London, they had this Google development group event, and they do it in Windsor, they do it in London. They kind of do all the same ideas all across to kind of like get people to get together again. And that's like that idea that they kind of way back a year and a half ago, I went to a Google development group Windsor event, and it kind of opened my eyes to realize like Windsor can host a little bit more events. Being I will like you're gonna hear me like complain a little bit about of our area. Like it is a nice area. Don't get me wrong. Like I love Ontario. I love like what we can do. I'm not a big fan of snow that often, but it happens. We are in that place, but it's a really great area with a lot of talent, a lot of support, a lot of great individuals. I don't understand why we don't have more jobs, like high paying jobs, like these white collar, like the big aspect. And Windsor has been a blue collar area for so long because of the auto industry, but as we see in the auto industry, it's changed significantly. It's not an auto industry anymore. It's software, right? Just like everything else is a software company. And that's the big aspect of the GDG thing is that everything's coming back to that now everything is driven by software, your microwave, you know, thankfully I can still drink this cup of coffee without, having to authenticate to my cup. But that being said, it's like how long before, have to like coffee as a service. So I love going there, and it was a great perspective to understand. But I am scared of AI. Holy crap, the amount of AI, and they have AI creating AI, and then so it's going to be AI all the way down. So I don't know, like where do we go? I'm like so between software and AI, I felt like cybersecurity needs a really big kick to kind of go. Let's go, guys. We're using the AI to develop code. Are we validating that code to look for security vulnerabilities? I'm going to ask AI to look in my code for security vulnerabilities. Like, I don't know if I'm going to trust AI to find them, right? So it's just when you think about AI all the way down, it's a scary situation. So we do need, and I will. Oh my God, now you got me on a quick crazy riff here. Is that, and that's what I brought up at GDG as part of my event. Is like there's a part of the hands-on process that I really want to develop because, and I make the joke is the doctors, right? Like if you wanted to go see your doctor, if your doctor never put hands on a person or never put hands inside a person, would you really trust your doctor to make that advice? So at the same time, like as you talk to computer people, like if your person has never actually worked on a computer itself, and I kind of like say like working on a laptop and typing is not the same thing as like ripping apart your computer, putting a hard drive in, understanding what fails, getting your OS rebuilt, that kind of thing is like when you look in the human body, like why if my doctor wants to put their hands inside me, go right ahead, right? Like this is you got to know me, right? If anybody wants to put their hands inside me, like I'm gonna put in quotes, put their hands inside me and want to be a doctor, I'm more than willing to give them the training. It's you have to like you can't be good at what you do without understanding the fundamentals or the basics and going right back to like, hey, this is how the bits and bytes work. And I will say like as a cryptography person, I don't understand how AES works in the mathematical sense, but I do understand encryption and what it does. So like there's a certain amount of basics that I think is really critical to like how we should develop ourselves. That's why I was like GDD, I want to be part because I really want to spread that message and even more now like AI is going to really 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 make me nervous. Sorry, that was a long rant too.
It's so interesting you bring up AI, and obviously, the entire industry, AI is at the forefront of all the conversations going on right now. It's also reached a point where it's only been what maybe 3 or 4 years that AI has been highlighted, and it's already reaching the saturation point where everyone has come across the same problems and the same solutions, but it's kind of at loggerheads with each other. And it comes down to this one base thing, which is can you trust a AI? It's not just can you trust an AI, but can you trust an AI more than you can trust a human because it's relevant
Mm,
person that would be working. And then that becomes complicated because it depends on the quality of the person that you have working for you.
mm-hmm.
So You could have,
Untrustworthy person is still just as untrustworthy as untrustworthy AI. Yes, amazing. I forgot about that. That you still have untrustworthy people too. Ah, crap. Sorry, you got me on that one.
yeah. And now with AI, at least you can remove code and remove emotions and fatigue and cognitive biases, which
Mm,
can be deprogrammed much easier than to do that in a human being.
hmm
So, where does that leave how we look at trusting the system?
Ooh, you got the biases. Ooh, that's a good point. Especially, not to pick on you, but as a woman, I'm sure you must face biases in software a lot, right? Like, again, in the software industry, and I not to pick on women as much, but when I go into cybersecurity, like the percentages is really low. And I don't know if it's just because of the type of organization or industry it is, but it's hard to get a real good understanding of biases in feedback if you don't have an equal representation of what that biases in feedback should be, right? Like I'm like, oh my god, so what is our baseline? And oh my god, oh, but your AI stuff, and I'm like, all I can think of, how do we remove bias? And you're absolutely right, is we got to remove the human. How do we remove the human?
But that's the other thing. Like, also look at a human because he also corrects the bias. So I'm getting my chocolate.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm at this yoga, urban yoga.
Oh, nice. You know what? As an old man, I need more yoga. I realized, like, so I was, and I will say, sorry, a really quick side note. So I'm learning to try and do yoga in the morning to face the sun and do all that stuff. And it's really good for my energy. But I will say the one thing I find, I should have started this about 20 years ago. And that's like, I realized, like, holy crap, it's really good for you, but man, does it take a lot to get. And I'm sure that as you're getting through the yoga, I'm like, you're probably halfway through going, okay, I'm really good at this. But as you know, you're trying to like stress, get through the other half. Me, I'm trying like at the 5 second mark, just trying to even like, do not make any weird noises. Do not make any weird noises. Yeah. Okay. Then we got it. And it's like, oh man.
But that's the beauty of yoga is it's all about making the weird noises.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'm
being weird,
learning
being
that.
weird, sounding weird, and being totally okay with it because who gives up? You
Yep,
know?
exactly. Oh man, I'm learning that. Holy crap, smart. I'm getting old, and that's what I'm like. I wish I would all this stuff. I wish I would have learned 20 years ago. But
What ma-
sometimes,
what made you decide to like explore that? And I'm also curious, how do you currently, with everything going on, manage your energy?
oh god, you got a couple good questions there. This is like I love not talking about IT for a second here because it's kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how I maintain my energy, and then we'll go back to like what made me start the yoga aspect because they're kind of very related, right? So one of the things of how I have to sleep here and there, right? Like everybody needs their sleep. I find my Saturdays and Sundays, like I'll go to bed at 11, I'll wake up about 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? It just depends. Most of my week is probably about 8 hours of good sleep a night. I've learned that sleep is probably the freaking number one most important thing that you have to do, including me. Like I've learned to use white noise or rain sounds or whatever it is I need to get a good night's sleep. Because if you can't get a good night's sleep, you can't recharge your brain. It seems right. Like you can't get the waves that get rid of all that material and blah blah blah. And so that kind of made me realize like there's more to my energy than just my head, right? Like my body has this weird energy. It made me research things like the chakras and all those kind of things. And it's weird because there's all this stuff that seems to align at the right times, and I'm like learning about all these different kind of like aspects of different energies, right? Like emotional energy and all these. This is gonna really sound weird. Is that I realized like most of my problems sit at my base chakra, right? And I'm like sitting there like, okay, so that makes sense. And like, how do I start doing this to get like the seven chakras going, right? And it's like I have to start at the base and work my way up. And so that kind of like as you research that stuff, you start like okay, so you got to do yoga. So when you're doing your yoga, you're releasing all those parts and releasing that energy because it's like really like it seems from the understanding again, I'm going to probably really mess it up is it's stuck. You have to let it flow. So that chakra that's sitting there and it's just like this ball of energy that's not doing anything, you have to make sure that it flows. So yoga is about releasing it and letting it go and making sure that everything aligns. So as I'm doing this, and that's why I'm like, so when I'm like tired and I feel like a ball of crap, I go stretch and I go look at and I release my chakras and it's like well, that kind of worked, right? And I know that there's so much more to it than that, and there's all this stuff, and I'm like, but as you kind of realize, like, there's a lot to this that we lost as we got into technology, and that's why I'm like, oh man, this is like crazy because I love technology, but you start to see like everything's energy, and it's like, holy crap, I just want to. As I get into cybersecurity, I'm like, and we start getting into that cybernetic correlation of everything, right? Like it's like, okay, how do we manage energy and information that we can't manage or see? Like, we can see data, but now we have this whole other aspect of human body. Yes. Yeah. It's like, wow. So that's where I was at. So yeah,
I love that. It's really like chakra management was one of the game changers in my life.
really
Realizing how um, the overactivation or underactivation or blockage or too much flow,
blockage. That's yes.
yes, on any of the chakras impacts so many dimensions of who I am, my mood, my life, what environment I'm in, everything. And that it can easily be manipulated. When I say manipulated, influenced, and
Influence. Yes.
it's like levers that can be shifted through practice of breath and body movement. It's free, can be done anywhere, anything. That was one of the most life-changing moments of my life. And coming to the machine thing that you just mentioned, it's so fascinating that, we live in a world obviously now where the concepts of yoga, energy, and chakra have been convoluted a lot.
Hmm.
There's a baggage around those words
Hmm.
because, it got commercialized and it's been productized, and now it's kind of become superficial in many ways as well. And so there is a negative connotation to the kind of people who practice or the practice of it itself. But if you look at it just from a computing perspective, you know, have like you're talking about transformers.
Oh my God. Yeah.
With transformers, the entire point of engineering is to reduce friction, to
Hmm.
energy flow, right?
Yeah.
Computer works better and works faster. That computers use energy or frequency transmissions in order to get signals, receive and send signals. So if a computer is working at a frequency level, literally, and that's how it is receiving and sending information like Wi-Fi, how can we believe that the brain isn't doing the same thing, given that
Oh my God.
the OG supercomputer?
My God, you hit it. You hit it, right? Like, and that's why, and again, this is where I'm like, I'm learning a lot too. So bear with me if I really screw this up. Is you start to understand emotional energy at the same time, right? Like, and you start to realize like why packs of people act the same way, right? Because packs of people all feed that same emotional energy, right? And you're all on the same wavelength, and you're starting to like, oh yeah, you start to see why riots happen because all that anger feeds into anger, and all of a sudden more people and more anger, and it's like, oh, maybe we could do the opposite. Maybe with more happiness, more love, more opportunity, more hope, we can give people that. So if we group people, and this is kind of like, again, the transformer aspect is we transform ourselves to be like, as you said, our chakras. We start understanding our bodies a little bit more. We can transform to like understand like we have more energy than what we realize that we actually do have. And I am trying to tap into that so much more now because yes, I realize like even though I like to think I have a big tank, like my stomach is big, but it's like one of those things is like you still run out of energy. It's just like, oh God, I just want to. You start getting jealous of the people with the six packs, but then you realize like those six packs are pretty small, so they can't hold as much energy as this tank, right? Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can. How do you correlate this energy management conversation to the concept of burnout, especially amongst cybersecurity professionals, CISOs? And also, you mentioned you get 8 hours of sleep at night and you really prioritize sleep. I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of people in cybersecurity, especially in leadership positions, sacrifice a lot of sleep because they feel like they have to be on 24/7.
Hmm.
How do you deal with that?
Well, this would be like, so this will be interesting because I would love to like get your take on how many CEOs that you talk because you look like because I know your personality and I'm sure you're driven like a lot of people that you talk to high performing individuals often, right? So I'm sure that I'm not gonna like I don't want to like generalize, but I'm sure they're faking a lot of it, right? Because a lot of the people that I know are burning out, right? Like there's less cybersecurity individuals, there's more work, and as you said about the 24/7 thing, right? Like how many people are in socks right now that have to deal with that follow the sun kind of mentality? It's hard to keep up, and then as you get less people, yeah, the risk goes up, and my gosh, now you think about it, you start to see why a lot of these breaches probably do happen is because you can't a resource can only like be stretched so thin. And yeah, I would love to see like some of the CEOs that like post breach to kind of go, okay, what was your workload? What could you handle? And then at what point did you have to stop working because you couldn't handle any of it, right? It's insane the amount of that we expect. And I wouldn't say we, but yeah, again, I'm going to pick on GDG for a second. I go there and, we're all there on a Saturday and there's a lot of people that are like executives and they're there and they're doing the work and talking and all that. But you know what? I think the important part is they have to rest because everybody's looking, I don't know everybody. A lot of people are looking for their next opportunity, right? Like they're kind of like, okay, where can I get my job or where can I get the more money? Where can I get this? And I look at me, where can I spread my message more? Where can I kind of go? But like I said, I prioritize sleep, but I had to learn that because of burnout, right? Like I spent a week in the hospital because I couldn't handle my brain anymore. And I think that's a weird thing is when your brain breaks and you're like, yeah, that shouldn't happen. And you kind of look back at it and you realize like, yeah, I took on too much. I took on a lot of things that I shouldn't have. I became somebody who I wasn't, right? Like I was trying to sell myself more than I was trying to actually be myself. And I think that was like a big thing is when you start realizing like, hey, your core, and this is going to sound really weird, when your body does not do the same thing as your soul wants, or your brain doesn't do the same thing as your soul wants, I think that's where depression comes in, right? Your soul wants something else, your brain's fighting it, and you're like, what else
Resisting.
do you do? Yep. You're just, yeah. And then eventually you burn out. And because you're battling all the time, you're tired. And that's it. You got to take a break. And yeah, your brain takes that break. And next thing you know, you got to spend, I don't know, what am I at? 2.5 years rebuilding yourself. And it's like, do you become a new person? I hope not. I hope I'm the same person I was before the breakage, but better. And that's yeah, it's crazy. I like yeah, this really like when I think about the brain and everything we talked about already, I just like I'm nervous when we start thinking about like those cybernetics and the neurochips and all these other kind of things that we're trying to get we're trying to get energy into the brain somehow through computers. I don't know if we're gonna even handle that.
And not just energy, but data, that is controlled by a third party.
How much information overload do you get now? Because I look at your organization as what you do, and I'm sure because you gather so much information, you're having to assess like terabytes of information in a given day. Like how do you deal with that information overload? Because I'm like, for me, I've had to stop a lot of social media and I'm had to pick my social media because I still got to get my message out. But then yeah, you have to pick your conversations, you have to pick who you talk to, right? Like this this is a rewarding thing, right? Like I love this. I could do this all day. But if I have to go, have a conversation with a CEO about a breach and he doesn't even want to talk to me to begin with, yeah, it's a lot of energy and yeah, they don't just you start to realize like where your workloads are and how best you can manage, but there's always going to be a surprise, right? I think that's the hard part is how do you account for randomness too? And then anyway, I'm like,
Yes, yeah, so two different questions, great questions. And
oh,
also, after I ask that, are you comfortable with me uncovering a little bit more about what you just
dig.
mentioned in terms of being in the break?
dig, dig away. You can dig as deep as you want. Like honestly, I will more. As I say, I'm an open book. Anybody can, and I think sharing information allows a little bit of openness to people that are struggling as well. So hopefully, if somebody is struggling and they need more, I'm also always available. So if you need to pass over contact information, as long as I don't make it worse for them, that's the only thing, right? Like less.
The
Oh
same,
yeah,
the
yeah.
same.
Here,
Not
here's
what,
Rob.
not guys, the usual disclaimers.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, oh my gosh, Rob has caused a lot more trauma than he's worth. Oh God. Anyway, dig as deep as you want. Like I said, it's one of those things where I find like, yeah, the more information that people have, the better decisions they can make, as long as it isn't information overload, right? Like that's to misinformation, disinformation, all this other kind of crap, and it's like, oh my God. So
This
yeah.
information overload thing is very real. Our brains were not designed to get so much stimulus so fast every day,
Hmm.
multisensory stimulus. And on top of that, the intensity of the information but everything just seems so existential. Everything always has been, but algorithms are pumping this up now. That levels of anxiety, everything is about negative, what's going on, anxiety
Hmm.
and just fear mongering. Personally, I'll be honest, it's been quite challenging since I started looking into this subject to find
Hmm.
balance because I started from a very existential point as well. Like I felt like the world was going to end and that humanity was at the precipice of deciding whether we move towards annihilation or immortality of the species, and how we make decisions around these emerging technologies will determine which path we go down.
I thought I had an existential crisis. Holy crap! Wow. That was like, and I was like worried about me, and you're like humanity. I'm like, oh boy. Anyway, sorry, sorry. Wow. Okay, I did not have anywhere near as much of an existential crisis when we get into it, but yeah,
So,
uh,
I have to put on the aircon. Please do not take it off.
that's awesome though. I'm sorry. Thank you for caring about humanity though. That's good. Holy crap. Okay, sorry, sorry. Didn't mean to break that. Good.
No, but see, Mindshield was born from that place. Like, oh my God, like I want to be on the right side of history, on the future. Whatever I'll be the same.
Time is irrelevant according to Einstein, right? That's all relative.
It all exists simultaneously.
Oh my God, you are smart. Holy crap! I'm gonna give it. You got this. This is why I like talking to you. You have a good wavelength. Okay, I understand it. Good. Sorry about that.
Likewise, likewise. Otherwise, I just sound like a crazy person if I'm not talking to someone who gets what I'm saying.
I know that feeling. I get
Um,
called out.
but
Sorry.
yeah, Mindshield was born from the idea that even if in my whatever 80 years of existence, there is a little bit of the lever that can be pushed towards the path that does not lead to suffering and self-annihilation, then we want to be there. We want to be a part of that lever, that machine, part of the machine. But cognitive overload happens a lot. And I used to be very heavy on social media. I used to do a lot of photography, videos. I have cut out so much. Instagram. I sometimes watch TikTok. I, funnily enough, trust TikTok more than I trust the news on TV.
Same. Same. Weird. Because TikTok's by the people, right? Like news is like, oh my God. Anyway, yeah, we could spend a whole day around news, I think, just because we could dissect everything. Like, CNN, all right,
I
well,
don't watch news anymore.
no, no.
Weird. I can't like the only news I watch is when I'm getting my nails done in the salon and they have it up.
Nice.
And
There
that's
you go.
weird.
Well, again, that's nice because you get while you're doing your nails, right? You get to realize like this is the reality and the TV's the fake stuff, right? And you're kind of like you start to get realized, and that's why I love that. Yeah, it's all just background noise, and I doom scroll on Reddit once in a while because that's like my social media doom scrolling. But that's it. I can't deal with any of the other negative news because you hear about it. And a friend of mine, like he's one of my negative friends, and he knows who he is. If he listens to this podcast, he'll bug me and he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But he's the one like I tell, stay away from the news, right? Like it's negative all the time. And he it's if you just remember like this nowadays, the news gets to you so fast. Back in the 1800s or before that, the war would come to you before the news would, right? Like so you would get in, and so that's why it's like
You
that was
beat
like
the war and then you get a newspaper.
yeah,
By the
yeah. Yeah,
way.
by the way, England's getting bombed. It's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Not to pick on England. They've just had a few more wars than us. But it's like that aspect. You have to understand like the news moves so quickly and look at it how much misinformation is already coming out just because news is trying to get out faster. Recent,
Yeah, they don't
you
wait
know, yeah.
to actually uncover truth. They just like the first thing, and it's all about who gets there fastest. And I've noticed people's behaviors and patterns. So many people I know who just in the morning they wake up and they put on the news. and then running in the background. And even if you're not actively paying attention to it, it's happening. Like your brain is picking it up.
Oh yeah, it's all no, like I said, and I think about that all the, and we talked about that energy just a little bit ago. If you're broadcasting negative energy, what do you think is going to come in, right? Like, it's, even though it's background noise, it's still energy, right? Like, think of your microwave. There's a reason why you put that screen on the microwave, and so that way that microwave isn't, when you're going to check on your coffee to see if it's warmed up, you're not getting burnt on the face, right? It's controlled. So that way, that again, we have to control our negative information. We have to put it in a box or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all.
absolutely.
Well, technically it is in a box, right? Like that TV, we just need to get the box away. Or I think Kendrick Lamar said it best: "Turn the TV off."
I got rid of my television like a while ago. It's been about 2 months. My
Hmm.
file broke, and I just never got it renewed. And it's so interesting how culture plays a role because if you think of humans, right, we design our entire house, our entire living room for the
For the
TV.
TV. Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, holy crap! Yes, you're right. There's the whole, and I
All
will say that our open. Now you say that, like, yeah, because our open structure, right? Like the open air structures that we have, they are focused on what is the visual that you want to see first. And most people are now TVs, and oh my God, it never made sense. And you just said that. That's freaking awesome. So yeah, we need
in
to change
this
that strategy.
thing here that it's called Jivanite. So I actually volunteer here too. It's a modern yogic retreat center, but you can live here. Like it's a living center. And we wanted to create something that was in the city that is not expensive and inaccessible. You don't have to take a weekend off. You can integrate it while you're working and all of that. So the way we designed the space, and I didn't even think about it initially, but we got rid of any couches, so it's all floor seating, floor cushions and all of that. And the center is just plants and like we have the Om symbol obviously because that's right. But I realized after coming here, oh my God, it's so stark that the thing that is the center of attention dictates so much about how your friends socialize. Like your friends come home, right? You host people. What do? Do they sit around the TV and are you guys all watching something? Are you guys playing?
Hmm.
Versus you all in a circle looking at each other with food in the middle. Like small things like that have changed society so much. And I mean, we're deviating away from cybersecurity, but we're talking about
No, this is great. Oh, this is good because you're really cycling back to the conversation we had yesterday. We were all sitting in a circle after GDG, right? Like there's me and five other guys that were talking. And sorry, as guys, it was all guys, and that's why I kind of like, again, going back to the, I'm losing focus. So go back. We're sitting around the circle, and we're all just talking together, right? Our phones are down. We're not even paying attention to our phones, right? It's like finally, this is the aspect. Like you go back to, and we're just sitting there having food, and we're talking about stuff, and there's a connectivity there that you're just like, these guys are my guys. Like you kind of like, okay, so this is why we do this, right? And I think, and oh my God, hopefully I don't offend anybody with this, but you think back of the tribal culture, right? Tribal culture, everybody used to sit around and they round fires and eat together and all that other stuff. And if if you were like that kind of community, man, how much more stuff could you get done now? And that's why I keep on coming back to that cybersecurity community. Imagine if we all sat together outside of computers and talked about what we should be doing from a security perspective, right? And again, you think outside the box. You think of, and again, this is where, sorry, I'm going to go back to, is like you hack a satellite, man. It's game over for a lot of this. If you can get down, hopefully, I don't get in too much trouble with this, but if you can take down Starlink, yeah, you're gonna create some issues. So, and that's why I said it's so much bigger than just the home computer or the phishing email, right? It's now our infrastructure. It's like these smart cars. If you take down a smart car, you can take down so much. It's like live and people killed, right? Like this. It used to be like you get a virus on your computer, like, oh crap, I can't access the internet. Now, like you can literally cause a ping of death on somebody's biomedical equipment. So
and
it's
that's so interesting. You could just hack smart cars now, and you could hack like 50 smart cars on the street.
yep, possibly even through your cell phone while you're watching them crash. Yeah, that's why, like, it's
Oh,
crazy. Yeah, that's why, like, even then you start even like looking at the smart cities and the smart street lights. I go back to like what is it, the Italian Job movie where they're like hacking the street lights to allow like the cars to get through the city quickly. I think the advantage that we have now is that because the internet is so pervasive, no one wants to actually physically go to somewhere to do the physical attacks. But if that comes back, game over, right? Like that's if you can get physical access to a server, you got physical access, and that's why I keep on coming back to people need to understand when they get their hands on that the cloud. I'm going to go back to cybersecurity is just taken. It's a computer taken over, like run by somebody else. If computer, it's turtles all the way down, right? It's just you gotta. We have to be back to ourselves. We gotta like connect. And oh my god, I'm on a big rant. And that's what I said. Like when I went to task, that took me a lot to get the task because one, it's Toronto is a tough city to get into sometimes, but that was a lot of people that I did not know. But the connections that I made there that day, like you and Alana and all these other people, Ali, man, he's awesome. Like it's like this is why I do it because if it's not for the people, I'm definitely not doing it for the computers. They have no interest in what I do. Who cares about the computers? Fuck them. Part of my language, right? They just toss it. Like I think of Office Space and the printer, and you just take the baseball bat to the computers. Like why? Like who cares? It's just a computer. It's people. We need people, and that's what we should care about. People over profits. Sorry,
Profits or people being the profit.
people being the profit. Yes, let's profit people. Profiteering people. Oh my god, I'm going to monetize people. Oh my god, sorry. Is that human trafficking? No, no, no.
Rephrase that a little bit after
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Yeah. Back to the other aspects. I don't do trafficking in humans. I promise. I promise.
Just to put that out there.
Yeah, exactly. Just you can research that. I promise. You can ask anybody. Most people, not the people that I
Well, I
traffic though.
do anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why?
Sorry. Anyway, I digress.
I
I
wanna
digress.
I wanna go back to your what you talked about being, hospitalized due
Hmm.
to having that crash, the fracture. Can you walk me through a little bit more about what happened? Like, what were the events that led up to that point, and what was the straw?
Yeah, I will say like so. This is an interesting aspect of like the mind and soul aspect of things because I had a couple things that were that triggered it, right? So the first thing was about 8 years ago, I had a really bad reaction to Ozempic after being diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. So being type 2, they're like insulin, and then next they gave me an Ozempic, and about 2 months, like I stopped eating. I couldn't keep anything down. I end up like getting brought into the hospital. My potassium was like at 2.0, where it's supposed to be like 3.5. My sodium was down to like 105, where it's supposed to be 135, I think. So my heart should have been stopped. My brain should have been stopped. I should have been dead, like completely. Like there should have been, but still me around, just kind of like it took 3 days of ICU. And it's funny because I think back to it now. I needed to walk, right? Like it's one of those things. Like I need to move. I need to keep doing something. So I'm walking around the ICU with my little post that has my like sodium bag and all that other good stuff to make sure that I'm getting all my nutrients in. And I'm like, why is everybody staring at me? And they're like, well, because ICU is not the place that you go to do this, right? I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know. And I didn't really understand what ICU was at the time, right? Like I didn't know intensive care unit was literally like the place you go before you die. That's it. There's no other places, right? I was in the resuscitation room for like a little bit because they were scared that everything was going to kind of collapse, but that was it. So beyond that, so 3 days in, I finally get released. I get released and I start having some seizures because I think my body is like starting to readjust or whatever. So I go back in another 8 days in the hospital, get my body right. I developed neuropathy in my hands. You can like, there's a lot of crap that I scratch and whatever in my feet. I got some neuropathy. My legs look like crap as well. And eventually, like what I had to do is adjust myself, right? Like because I lost a ton of weight and just kind of like lost who I was completely. I dove into alcohol to relieve the pain, which again, it's like one of those things where I couldn't find anything, right? Like I was trying to get pain management, couldn't get proper pain management. I was not going to go to opioids or anything like that. But nerve pain is just freaking something else. Like my hands felt like there was a poker in there. I felt like there was 9-volt batteries being stuck just randomly all over my body. So yeah, so alcohol did the trick for a little while, and then eventually my brain broke, right? Because my soul and my depression was coming from the fact that I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't, right? Like I was trying to recover from this hospital stay, trying to be who I was. And what I found out is that over that course of 5 years post stay, it was like I couldn't be who I was.
When you say who you were, What do you mean by that? More so like your identity, your work, like what do you mean by who you are?
Well, before I was this, like, so again, this is like for the 5 years that I was not very active. I tried to be active and whatever. I used to do a lot of things like, create communities. I think when I was 30 something, me and a buddy of mine, we created a 30 plus soccer league because there was no soccer in Essex. So I was like, okay, what do we do? Well, let's create a league instead. So we created a league. And it's just, and that's why I said it's like one of those things where I kind of come back to where I was, but once I got sick and tried to like get that energy back, I dove into alcohol and I dove into work. I stopped having fun and it became this like I spent so much trying to recover myself that I didn't realize that I was losing myself in that same aspect. So as I'm trying to recover, there's alcohol, there's work, there's alcohol, there's work, and then there's lack of sleep, there's lack of sleep. And then you start like piling on and you have emotional issues with, other people and family. And then at the same time, my mom passed. And then so I have all these other things that kind of like all of a sudden accumulated to this breaking point. And I remember the night that I went to sleep, I drank a ton of alcohol, woke up in the morning, drank some more to try and just see if I could numb everything. And then the switch hit where I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to live anymore. And it was like, wow, that was pretty crazy. And it's like, not that again, there's a, I don't want to like try and do any psychology while I'm in there, but there's an asset, I think there's passive suicide and there's active suicide where I was switching from the passive moment to the active moment, and that's when I realized that I needed help. So I called a good friend of mine for help, and then I ended up in the hospital, and they helped, like the hospital that I went in, and Windsor, again, it's not, hospitals aren't the greatest, but I had one of the nurses that kind of came to me because she knew I was scared, and I looked around and she's like, this is not you, right? Like this place that you are in is not you. So you just need to not pay attention to thinking that this place is what you are. You will recover. And I'm like, that was like made me change because it was like the first time, like in a long time, that I think somebody cared about me healing myself. And it was like, wow, it was kind of crazy because when you're in, again, as this really crazy, whoever sees this, whatever, just ask me away. I'm always open. Is that sometimes when you're going through these things, you internalize too, right? So you don't reach out. No one knows you're going through it. No one sees anything. But yeah, now it's like when people ask, like, do you drink anymore? And I'm like, no. And it's not because I'm alcoholic or anything like that. I had a drinking problem during that time because I got pain. But I don't drink anymore because one, I don't need it like I used to because it used to be like an inhibition. Like I, it made me be able to do things that I want to do that my anxiety would stop me from doing. But now I've learned that, you know what, the inhibitions are only limited by what you choose, right? If I want to do something, I go do it now. But it's the aspect is I know now that if I want to do something, it's because like I want to do it. Not like alcohol does not make me do it. Drugs aren't making me do it. It's that aspect of I want to do it for me. And sorry, this is going to sound really weird. Is a lot of what I do for me is I do want to share, right? Like that's the aspect is I want to share these stories. I want to share this information. I want to share cybersecurity. I want to like whatever I can do to get more information out, I will do. And that's why like when I get invited to these kind of cool podcasts, I'm like, yes, I'm in 100%. Because especially somebody like you, man. Oh, sorry, I don't want to be mad. Sorry. Especially like you, Samana, it's like amazing. Like I could just like
Sorry about it.
you're like just one of like again now it's like you're kind of cool. Like you're one of my best friends already again. I'm like, wow, this is when you get somebody on the wavelength, right? It's makes it easy, and that's why I like sometimes when you find the wrong people too, and they feed into that negativity, and that it's like you got to cut them out. There's eventually like if you want to grow, you have to leave the ground, right? If you're a tree and you want to reach the sky, you're going to grow bigger than some of the grass that just wants to stay grass. So,
That's a great analogy. It's also like shedding, when a
yeah.
snake is trying to shed.
Yep, you're shedding your skin and growing, right? And I
Yes,
hate spiders, and I realize they do the same thing. I'm like, oh my god, not hate. Sorry, I'm getting used to them, but I'm like, I have a big I used to have big arachnophobia, and now I'm like, I'm trying to get. I'm used to I can get used to the ones that are the size of my fingertip, but anything bigger than that, I'm like, I'm running. I scream like I scream. I'm like, as long as I don't faint, because if I faint and one crawls on me, I'm done. I'll be like, oh, okay, you guys, spiders can just have me at that point. I might as well just like
with your
Boy, yeah, yeah, I can imagine like I'll be at one of the task events and after parties, and I'll like turn around and be like, "Oh my god, is that a, like there's tarantulas all around?" I'm like, "Just pass out." Well, you win, Simona. You can now implant neuro chips wherever now. I'm like, I'm out. Maybe
Yeah,
you
you
could override my arachnophobia.
brought it up a few times just as we were talking, even before we started the session, about Neuralink. What's been going on in your mind about that?
I'm scared. Like it's scary, right? Like again, I well, you're gonna hear a little history too. Is that when I was graduating high school, I was looking at universities, and at the time, I wanted to go to UCLA for cybernetics, right? And I was looking at it, and the problem with cybernetics, the program at the time, it wasn't the creation of Terminator. It was the creation of McDonald's ice cream machines to make sure that it was like useful for humans. And I was like, no, I want the real machine human interaction, right? Like I want to create like the Terminator aspect. So at the time it wasn't quite ready yet. But now as it kind of like gets closer and we see this Neuralink stuff and we see like the stuff that are coming from the interaction of the brain, and I'm like, oh, this is making me nervous because we don't even understand how the brain works, and yet we're going to put things in it. Like that's crazy to me. Like imagine if like right now you have your computer. If you didn't, oh my god, actually that's 90% of the population. They don't understand how their computer works. They'll just install whatever. When's my favorite question to ask it sometimes in a cybersecurity event? When's the last time you uninstalled an app on your phone that you haven't used? Right? I can tell you like 90% of people like just let their apps install. They just keep them. So yeah. So imagine your brain now. You install app after app after app in your brain, and you think like now we will burn out more and more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I'm scared. That's why I'm scared. It's just too much information. We don't understand how it works now, and yet we're just like playing God, and it's just like yeah, you if you're not God, you can't play God. You will do bad things. We saw that with the atomic bomb. So anyway.
No, that's a very nuanced observation in terms of how does it fundamentally change our abilities to make decisions.
Hmm.
When the computer came, it was in the workspace, right? Then an innovation happened that brought it to people's homes. And when that transition happened, there were few key things playing out. One is convenience,
Oh yeah.
opportunity. And the opportunity to make money or do something at home and the convenience to do it without having to leave your place.
Hmm.
Way these technologies, Neuralink is being sold is down the same lines, right? The convenience of um, not needing other mechanics in order to move, say a
Hmm.
keyboard. They're definitely taking the angle of the medical stream.
Hmm.
And I find that interesting because you work in the healthcare industry, and healthcare has been it's such a pivotal way of positioning this technology in society in a way that gets penetrated really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Oh, we
there's
want to be healthier quicker.
exactly, if it's about you and me, there's an argument, there's a philosophical discussion. But when you're taking someone who is paralyzed,
Hmm.
who has a stroke and does not, and needs it because it gives them improved quality of life, there is no debate. How do you fight that? How do you counter that?
Ooh, I fight it as the aspect. So now you put that Neuralink in somebody to beat paralysis. You have somebody with like just a bad motivation that does something with that Neuralink because of the lols, right? Like, oh, watch me make this guy have a seizure because it's fun, and then just puts an app on his phone to like take over Neuralink and be like, watch this guy seize, boom, right? And it's that aspect that I fear that human ingenuity is great for creativity, and it really has helped this progress, right? But it's going to sound really stupid in the aspect that I don't think we punish our bad actors enough to ensure that we do the right things. And I mean that in the aspect that people that are trying to make these devices, right, if they're exploitable and they don't correct them, we don't tend to find them anymore, right? Like think of all the IoT devices that are out there that are not maintained anymore because the companies went bankrupt. They have no they have no drive or ability to even update that software that may be exploitable, and they're running our industrial controls, right? Imagine that Neuralink, you put that Neuralink device in, and the firmware is no longer updated, and the only way that you can get the updated firmware is to get a new device. Well, the only way that you're going to get a new device is, they're $150,000 for the upgrade, and now you have paralyzation as a service, right? Like hey, you don't pay, sorry, you can't walk again. Like I just, it's
I
so
only walk
weird.
2 hours a day.
Pardon, sorry, I missed that. So I was like, oh my god, I'm sorry.
Subscription model,
The
walk for
subscription model, yeah, yeah, yeah,
2 hours a day, 6 hours a day, upgrade for 24-hour access to walking. There's a
yeah.
Black Mirror episode around that. I
You,
don't know if you watched.
no, I gotta watch more Black Mirror. But the hard part of watching Black Mirror, it is so close to real life that it's scary.
It's really
Like,
scary.
I'm like, oh my god, because I watched the first two episodes. The first episode of Black Mirror like just kind of threw me for a loop because I'm like, that was interesting. I never expected that to happen. And that was the pig one, right? The one with the governor and the pig. And I'm like, oh boy, that was a really intense first episode. So after that, I was like, okay, I'll try one more. And my gosh, it was like it's a great show, but yeah, it was like after the first one, I was like, that's really extreme. And then it started getting a little bit more realistic until there was like a couple where I'm like, oh my god, that's like real life. I'm like, wow, okay, never mind. We're gonna take a break. But and then I went back to watch Peacemaker. So at least I know that the superheroes are not going to exist yet. Sorry.
Yeah, it's wild how realistic, and a lot of the things that they show in the shows are already happening. They're happening in other parts of the world. It's just, we haven't brought, like, for example, I don't know if you saw the one nosedive with the social credit rating system. Anyway, you know what?
Yes, yes. Actually, yes. Social credits. Oh my God. So yeah, that's another one. Imagine you're sorry. We'll go back to the whatever, but the social credit one is what's scary too, because you got to figure like if I start becoming a not great guy, maybe I'm not going to get on podcasts. Which again, that probably should be the way. If I'm not a great guy, I should not be like having my own podcast and be able to just spew hate. And I kind of say that in jest, but not jest. That we can be better at what we do, and I love it. Like so, yeah, I really think that as you do this, Simon, I love this. This is like you the mind shield aspect of things. I can't wait to see where that goes. So I would ask you, what is your favorite TV show? Because now I want to figure out how to like get my next cybersecurity question to you.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
I know I'm getting close to the hour, but that's why I just want to I want to bug you about your favorite TV show, and I want a question after that. If that's okay.
My favorite TV show so far is The Boys.
Good choice. Okay. So, who's your favorite in the boys cast? Like as a fictional character? As the fictional character, who's your favorite the boys character? If you could pick if you
Yeah,
No, no, okay, like I'm putting you on the spot. And that's like we've had a long conversation and I'm sure the brain energy is
the name, but the guy who makes the drugs.
okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I can't remember his name, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The
Frenchie.
French
Frenchie?
Frenchie.
Frenchie. Frenchie. Oh my god, he's awesome. So actually, now that you say that, my favorite character is oh my god, I'm gonna screw Kimona. Is that? Oh no, oh my god, who's Yeah,
They
it's the Asian character. Yes, with Frenchie, and I like because she's just so cool. No matter what she does, any situation, she's awesome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I will say that dance scene in that one episode. That was my favorite scene. It's weird when she does her little. Okay, this is gonna sound really weird. I love musicals. Like I just like. It sounds so random, but I grew up and I got to go to some musicals. I got to go see like Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis and that kind of thing. And I didn't go get to see Hamilton, but watched Hamilton on a streaming service. Sorry, I watched Hamilton on a streaming service, and then yeah, it's like that aspect is you start to realize like music and passion and fun and all this kind of good stuff. I'm like, I'm ready for more of that. Like, it's just, why can't we have more fun? Especially, and I'm going to cycle back to that cybersecurity thing is like, and that boys comment is, are you seeing from your perspective, are you seeing a better community in good things happening in your mind shield aspect of things?
The Boys I thought they've done such a great job at um recreating information warfare and how that
Hmm.
occurs. With how perception is manipulated, how news is manipulated, especially when in the last few seasons with Stardust and is it not Stardust? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
no, it's Stardust. Yeah, or Starlight. Starlight, yes. You know what? We're going to screw. You know what? As long as we don't get somebody from the boys like correcting us, we're good. Sorry.
Homelander is a starlight, right? Like how, you have these superheroes and how they have this PR agency that spins all these stories.
Yeah.
What the mainstream perceives how created and staged all of it is. And I think it's a perfect representation of the political situation also currently in the States, of how just both sides just it's all half truths. And what it has done is it's spewing hate and violence and fear, where it has completely divided the country apart. And it's so strategically planted in order to do that.
Yeah, the vitriol, I think is like it just everybody's so angry of over everything, just everything. And I will say, like, I kind of circle it back to that cybersecurity thing. Is that the U.S. aspect is we've kind of like from a Canadian, we have to like view the U.S. as adversarial now, right? Like we have to be very careful on our networks, our systems, and even our borders. And I hate to say it, but like if we start seeing tanks show up at our borders, it's not a drill, right? Like we have to be very careful. We have, and again, we kind of have 3 more years of this that we have to kind of like deal with. But I also find like if we have hopefully us is that we get to we find our Canadian or global roots, right? Like I say that because I don't want to like sound pro Canada. I'm pro globe, right? We're all human. We all have to get to the same end goal. Um, but like that's why I said like the borders thing just blows my mind. I didn't even realize like Iraq as a country really doesn't exist because it's mostly tribal based and they have these we as our European American define what countries are. And like I didn't realize Germany didn't refer to themselves as Germany for so long. I'm like, oh my God, I guess they would refer to themselves in their native language. That's why you see Deutschland and you see like Suomi in Finland and stuff like that. We anglicize everything. I'm like, so that's why I'm like, I go back to like our cybersecurity thing. We need context, we need like standard languages, and we need communication. And this is where it comes back to is like if we don't communicate, if we don't have people like me and you talking about what we see, we may not even see it, right? Like I may be completely wrong about the Neuralink thing, right? They may have like secured every aspect of it and there's no chance of getting in. That would make me so happy because that is such a great piece of a technology that you're right it would increase people's quality of life. And that would be awesome because, yeah, I think quality of life is what we need to get people. That's how it raise the baseline.
I'm curious, Rob, like what would you like to say if you are guiding the current as well as the next generation of people entering the cybersecurity field?
Ooh, this was a good one because I had to say that yesterday, and I think the students like lack hope, right? And this is where the hard work that I'm trying to put in, I'm going to put I in quotes because I have a lot of team members that are working really hard. I'd love to call them out by name, but it's like they're Ben and Aaron Ash and all these other guys that like helped us with our SWATs thing. It brought me into that aspect where one, it gave me confidence because I have people that are actually being successful in our program. Like Aaron Esch is now working in Montreal. Ben's getting a lot of offers over LinkedIn. Max is working for a company in Windsor. Like, so we're starting to see the development and the hope of there's going to be jobs out there because if people can't live, if people can't pay to survive, it really creates a significant amount of anxiety too, right? And we add those burdens to people and no, and like I don't want to stereotype, but not everybody wants to live off the government, right? I want to work. I want to make money. I like doing what I do. So yeah, we need to pay people
Are you hoping that there would be more more job positions, more kinds of jobs within cybersecurity,
more
existing
pay,
with higher
higher
pay?
higher
How
pay.
that what are the areas of opportunity and growth do you see that is not being taken advantage of as much as we could be right now?
Well, I think there's about 4 or 5 different opportunities that are huge right now. Like, we've mentioned AI a lot. AI cybersecurity is going to be a huge one, right? Like, especially misinformation and disinformation. We gotta that's why we stop thinking about security in the aspect of like, it's tunnels and SSL. No, we need to look at, bad information. Like we talk about data poisoning. We have to understand like how do we and you brought up a good word just earlier because one, we don't want data manipulated because manipulation of data makes it false, but we need data adjusted to account for bias, right? Like so bias versus or so adjustment versus manipulation is trying to like figure out how do we do context. Is there a negative context of that manipulation or is it just, bias adjustment, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge one. And I look at a place like you, right? Like Mindshield probably has a great infrastructure of what you've known and what you've researched to start doing this stuff. And I'm sure that if you like as you grow, you'll see all these AI companies more and more that you need to protect better, right? Like ourselves better against misinformation, disinformation, all this other stuff. God, I think like you're on the forefront. You and your company and the psychology of cybersecurity is the next level. Because if we don't know, we're never going to be able to do it. Like again, I make the joke that we put the hands-on thing, the hands-on keyboard, the hands in the computers, right? We got to start putting our hands in the brain, right? Like you got to, gosh, it was that what is it, a Wolverine and Deadpool, where she takes the hand and puts it right through the head. I'm like, that's the idea. We need to massage the brain a little bit to be like, okay, let's get this. So, yeah. Oh my god, I was tracking like there's just so many opportunities. So that's just AI, and now we have like infrastructure again. So as you think about AI, a lot of companies don't want their data mined by AI now, right? Like so they're going to bring a lot of their data back on premises instead of in the cloud because everybody knows that a lot of these cloud companies don't agree to agreements. They'll say, "Oh, we never use your data," and next thing you know, they're using your data, right? Like so, yeah. So you're going to see a lot of back on prem, and if that means back on prem, that means a lot more infrastructure people again. And if we're having infrastructure people, we need infrastructure security. So hopefully that'll be back onto that aspect. And we see like the Tesla, the smart cars. We need cybersecurity and making sure that they don't crash. And we have options that if they fail, that let's say I don't know, like 10 years Tesla goes under and we have all these cars and they don't have firmware updates. Boy, somebody's got to take that over and figure it out. And we have to start holding we need to start holding companies accountable for their code. So anyway, oh my god. And so yes, so I think there's a lot of opportunity.
AI, smart infrastructure, data on premise, and
And
data protection.
data don't respect borders, right? Like you can move data anywhere technically. Data doesn't care. And that's the aspect is like I could take my resume and move it over to China, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't have any context, but now wherever it sits. Anybody has access to it, and that's why it's like when you start to think about the cloud and how pervasive it was awesome. Allowed us to develop, allowed us to like really get data fast in a way that we couldn't do it on prem. But now, with the cost per gigabyte, the cost per gigahertz is so far down. Like you can buy servers for super cheap. Might as well like start thinking of how do I manage my own data? Because as you mine your own data, you start to see that okay, maybe this data is in the wrong context, and you got to like get better. So yeah, your AI security and understanding like how your data works better.
There's an interesting concept. I know we're at one. Maybe we
No,
can
no,
pick this up at a
keep going. I'm going. You can edit past.
we can talk so much about this, but there was an interesting concept someone brought up about UBI being linked to data.
Okay.
Yeah, where it's not that the government is just giving out cash. It switches to UBR, so universal basic resources, but your data is your way of earning income also.
Mhm.
So people have control over their data and they intentionally can choose to sell their data in order to make basic income.
That's interesting. Because that would be like this is awesome. No, 'cause I now that this is get me thinking. So if I control my own data, right? Like this is awesome. Like if I control my own health data, I could technically go to my insurance company like I will give you my health data if you give me a better rate on insurance, right? And then they can kind of like do that. And but that's the aspect is when you control your data, you can decide what's going with it. But the problem is once you give it away, boy, they can do whatever they want with it. And that's why it's like, how do we control that? How do we control our data?
It kind of comes back to there's a company that I used to work for in the past. It's called TotaQ. It's a micropayments company, but they're trying to create a new form of tokenization, where it's a digital asset that replicates paper and how paper,
Okay.
right? So if you think of CDs back in the day,
Hmm.
you would sell the CDs, and if I sold you a CD with music on it and you wanted to sell it to someone else, you would lose access to it. You would give the CD away. The only way you could keep it and you would give it to someone else, you would have to go online, you would have to probably download the CD, a cassette or something like that, right? But if it was a cassette, for example, you could not do that. Then at any given point of time, only one party has access to it. You're trying to replicate that kind of a data infrastructure, data structure, or asset structure that replicates how physical objects move, but in the digital world. And
Mm,
exploring, yeah, it's a long con. We can talk about that after.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
this is
there might
crazy.
be something there in terms of how the something that's transferable but also non.
Tangible, but non-tangible.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's interesting. That'd be
yeah.
kind of cool. So yeah, that's kind of leads me to that aspect, the energy, right? Like, can we see energy outside of our localized energy, right? We talk about. I'm going to go into the spiritual kind of thing a little bit, and we start talking about auras, right? So people that create this energy aura around them, like, are we going to be able to see that eventually with data?
Yeah, maybe instruments that actually, you know, pick up certain hertz
Yeah.
frequency that someone is giving out. And I mean, we can do that with other things. Like you could put, they came up with this little device that you could put to a plant or a tree and it creates it converts the frequency of the plant into an audio wave.
What? Okay, okay. Now I got to find it because I'm a plant lover and I just want to hear what my plants are saying. Because again, it's funny because I'll go out and I'll like you'll see the weird guy touching plants all the time, right? Like I feel like I got to be very tactile with things, right? And like, but it's like that. Yeah, it's like hello tree, come on, and then it'd be awesome. But it'd be funny. You get all those things and they're all screaming like you suck. I'm like, oh my god, I'm sorry for not watering you, right? Like, oh my god, be stop being dramatic, tree. It was like a week. I'm so sorry, right? Like I was gone on a trip, but yeah, I don't know. And then some of the trees like I see what you do at night. Like, oh my god, please no, no, don't look through my windows. What are you doing? Anyway, sorry. Yeah, hopefully just music, not like actual thoughts and
Yeah.
visualizations of what they see me do. Like, oh, you pick your nose a lot. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's so true. Like that's how they read each other's information. We have mycelium networks under the
Oh
ground.
my god. Oh, we could talk about this all
God,
day too.
that's
I
correct.
love this.
Yeah, because it comes back to information. Like that's the thing. We are looking at information and cybersecurity from such a quite a unidimensional lens.
Unidimensional. Yes, love that word.
Computational data, right?
Yeah.
But information at its core is sensual, is sensory. And when we look at how it travels in nature, there's so much that we can learn in how plants communicate through each other, how fungus communicate to the bacteria, that plants communicate to birds, the weather communicates to birds, such that they can predict things and they have so much more sensitivity to information than even we have. And we can't even predict weather with
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the technology we have. It changes every 5 hours. It's
I
only
was
a
gonna
prediction, but birds know months in advance and they already start migrating, right?
So
They,
my favorite example of that is when the news comes on, and again we talk about news quickly, is the weather comes on and it's like, oh, be ready, it's raining. And you're looking outside and you're like, oh my god, it's sunny. What are you looking at? Like just look outside. Quit looking at your equipment. Anyway, yeah, sorry. That's why I
yeah,
just like
it is very.
one of the only one of the only careers that you can be wrong so often and still keep your job.
That is so true. You could just make up anything really and still keep your job too.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, I think we're gonna get a tornado in the next 5 years. Okay, yeah, of course. Anyway, sorry. Weather prediction. Anyway.
Yeah, but imagine, right? Like how are we are doing something wrong if with all the technology we have and the science and the instruments we have, we haven't been able to tap into the energy field of what already exists amongst other animals in nature.
Do you think the scientists are getting in the way of themselves?
I think we have an arrogance as humans, believing and thinking that our way of measurement, our instruments, our senses are truth, are the closest version to truth.
Yeah.
And that we are the most intelligent species just because we have commanded so much of the world and taken control. But actually, we're not. I do believe, like, cognitively, we may be, and many other forms of intelligence, but I was thinking about it that I went to Alaska on a cruise with my mom and we saw the whales and I was thinking about how 70% of Earth is water
Mhm.
and marine life and only 30% is land, of which we humans populate only 30-40%.
Mhm.
If you actually look at the species on Earth and what actually owns Earth, it's marine life and the intelligence that exists in marine life, dolphins, echolocation, whales, they can pass on identities through music and sound and singing. Like we don't cross miles and miles with no GPS. It really makes me wonder how powerful really are we? And the arrogance that we have set to ourselves of being the most intelligent species, but actually we know so little about what's actually going on in other parts of Earth. And I think if we gave way to some more curiosity and
Mm,
inquisitiveness to understanding how these natural systems work, how do bee civilization function, how do ant civilizations function. So fascinating because if you look at blockchain and decentralization and cohesive societies that are optimized, that is it's right there.
it's awesome, man. I could listen to this. You can keep going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to break it, but this is like I'm picturing. I'm like, this is perfect.
Podcast time. So that's a rant I can go on. But there are cultures that recognize, like in Japan, how they use the fungus to line the railway systems. So there are ways that we can,
You said so much in that statement. I just like I could go on forever on that because yeah, there's a lot to break down in it, and like, oh my god. So and I was like, oh my god, there's force speed. All right, anyway, so I'm going like, so when you're like 70% of the world is like ocean, and like, and you said that right, and like, we 30% is land, and yet we're still discovering new land species. Like, you got to figure, like, if we're still discovering new land species and we're like, we haven't even touched the ocean yet, man, you don't even know. We don't even know what's in there, right? Like, and we're so, yeah, we think we're the most intelligent, but till we realize, like, we're on the scale of the universe, we've had what, 1,000 years of intelligence, 2,000 years of intelligence. I will say, like, we've had creative times in the history. Humans have been around for a little while, but really intelligence has really developed to get us, and I say, off the earth in the last, what, 40, 50 years, right? I'm sorry, I'm really, of the last 100 years, right?
well, that's also up to debate about what ancient civilizations achieved and where they.
Yes.
We don't even
Yeah.
know.
We
We
don't know.
deciphering what they wrote.
Go
And
back to Gobekli Tepe, and you're like, yeah, what is on that? Do you see what's written down? You're like, okay, those look like spaceships. That's crazy. And you look at like the reptilian aliens, and I'm like, sorry, I'm going to get into the aliens for a second because it's like one of my lovely topics. Is, yeah, you start to realize like there's a very high chance that there is existing intelligent species that exist on our planet already, and we don't see them because we just trust our visual senses, and that's it. And I'm sure there's more. Like, look at octopuses and sharks, right? They have ways to detect things that we have no idea about. And as you said, like bees, right? Bees have this communication strategy that we're still figuring out, and it's just bees. Like, holy crap. I'm amazed. And god, it's the world is freaking huge. And when you think about it, god, you can I go back to like that soul and that depression and all that. When you actually think about what is out there and what you're capable of doing as a human, you can work on getting rid of depression by trying to feed your soul in this world. I could try my best, right? And that's what I'm starting to realize. Is like, I talk to you, I go to GGG, I go to Task. As much as like I don't think everybody's passionate about cybersecurity the way I am, but I love it, right? Like, this is where I get to meet people that are similar, because not just cybersecurity related, like, energy, physics, the math, or whatever else you want to talk about. And um, good people, right? If you get good people and we get more good people together, man, that oh my god, I'm going to screw up the word myocene, right? Like,
yeah,
you connect, we get form bigger and better networks
and
for
we grow
growing.
resilient. Like that resilience
Yes.
comes from
Resiliency.
unlocking our
Yeah.
collective intelligence and
Collective intelligence. I like that term.
yeah,
And if it's collective intelligence for good,
real intelligence, natural intelligence.
real real intelligence, right? This is what I keep on going to. Like, holy crap, you said it right. Like, I want to be the real intelligence for people. I may be wrong, but at least you can ask me, and like, you're not getting like some random, well, you're gonna get random crap, that. But anyway, you're not just getting spewing random crap for no reason. Now, that's too wrong. Oh my god, sorry. Anyway, I'm a chat GPT with, like, I don't know, like a mental.
Which it does too, it hallucinates. So I mean,
I think I will say, like, sometimes I wish I could take what ChatGPT does just so I could hallucinate just as bad. But I don't want to do those kind of drugs. That's not me. But yes. Sorry.
God. Okay,
Anyway,
well, that brings us to an hour 18, and I really enjoy these conversations so much. Like, as soon as you talk, even ChatGPT hallucination can be a whole rabbit hole of what that even means from a cognitive standpoint.
imagine like trying to figure out how that happens. How something that uses ones and zeros hallucinates something. That's crazy to me.
You think about the brain, how do humans hallucinate?
Yeah. And that's why like we have more information to like we have more signals. We definitely have quantum, right? Like that's the aspect is like we're not ones and zeros. We're like a whole spectrum. And I'm like, wow, this is freaking insane. I love it. I shouldn't say I love it. I've had to learn to love it, right? Because it is, and I don't know. Like again, we could probably talk about autism at some point because I think I might be spectrum, right? And you wonder about like how much of this information now is affecting like autism, and I make that because that stupid part of my like the stupid Tylenol comment, right? Like come on, man. Like autism is not a disease. It's something from an informational perspective that people are being overloaded. And I think that's where it comes down is like, I look at, so I will talk quickly about my feet quickly. I have neuropathy and I find when my feet are firing up, I can't think. My brain is like something going on and I just can't think because everything else is stimulated. So if everything else in your brain is stimulated, how can you think and how can you react, right? So I'm wondering if they're like just a lot of some of the autism is just information overload and we just got to like help understand what information that brain is taking in to help kind of recover like okay so this brain is taking in maybe an insane amount of information in a non-spectrum that we're aware of, right? Like sorry, this is going to sound stupid, maybe people that see ghosts, right? People that see ghosts maybe have a vision capable of a spectrum that we're not aware of. Like think of ultraviolet or infrared, right? It's just a different color, but 4 terahertz wave is the same as like 1,000 megahertz wave. It's still a wave, just different frequencies, right? So you start to wonder if like people just have this innate ability to see different frequencies. So again, we could go on for that forever, and I'd love to do some research, but I am like I need to get my PhD at some point. Who knows? We'll see.
Okay, we're definitely doing that research together because I have a huge, like, I have quite some bones to pick with how the current psychology industry and the DSM-5 even defines disorders.
Hmm.
Meme that I saw online of like if you throw an orange in front of together with a bunch of apples, they wouldn't call it an orange, they'd call it apple deficiency syndrome.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, yeah. That's awesome. Good call. I like that. I got to remember that one. That's freaking awesome. We have to talk and we have to write this down because at the end of this, my brain is kind of like a little empty. But my gosh, orange deficiency syndrome. That was like a great analogy
Yeah.
because yeah, people look at
We don't know that they're just not they have access to things that the everyday
they're just
person
not an apple.
they're just not an apple.
Yeah, that's crazy. God. Okay. Okay. Let's sign it off on that because I'm like freaking that brain is now my brain just went. I'm not an apple. I'm not an apple. That makes sense. Okay.
You're
Savannah,
not
this is awesome. I really appreciate all your time, and like this is fun, and I want to do this again, and I can't wait. I'll be in Toronto for Sector on Wednesday, Thursday. So if you're
Oh,
around,
let's go. I'll be here too.
okay,
And there's some after parties. We'll talk about that. Um,
yeah, that we'll talk about that offline. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I will see you. I will see you Wednesday. Okay.
I'm you too. Take
Okay.
care.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Bye.
much. Bye. Wait, don't cancel out.
Oh, I don't close. I almost closed it.